Wrong one. Right one. Here we go. Bum, 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 bum. Bum 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 ba bum 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 ba da da dum bum ba da dum bum 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 ba da da dum bum ba dum bum ba dum ba da 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 da. Hi. Oh, I see. Everyone's coming in. It's so great. Wonderful to see everyone. It's cold up here. Everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Harry. Hi. Nice to see you. No, I've got it, Harry. I turned it off here. We're all set. I just have to turn off the phone. Hi, everyone. Look at you all coming in. You're looking good. Look at this. Hello from Grand Rapids and crackling sound, says Jody. Oh, good to see you. Hi, Paula. Hi, hello, Mighties. Hello. Hello, good evening. I those are my Mighties here, and then over here it's my Facebook Live, folks. Oh, good, good. It's coming through. Yay. Very good. I'm always assuming that it's Facebook, but it isn't. It has a lot to do with where we're situated right here. We're in an old part of the city where it's, by the way, I'm in Buffalo, and boy is it cold. It's colder in other parts of the country. It's in the teens, I think, the low teens today, but we're soon to get colder weather. And I know that I was talking to Kate, who lives in. Kate is my works very close with me, one of my main team players, team members, I should say, and she's in Wisconsin, and it was below zero today, where she was. So my guess is it's headed our way, across the Great Lakes and into Western New York. So wonderful to see you all. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday night to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to teach you some of what I know, maybe all of what I know. As much as I can think of, I will teach you. Because it is my privilege, it is my joy to do this with you every Monday night. And I've been doing this for, I don't know, I think we've been doing this now for 4 years, 4 or 5 years, every Monday night, going through my Materia Medica. If you don't own one and you would like one, you can certainly go on my site or contact my office, and it'll be right there, and you can get a hold of it that way. Or you don't need to follow this. You do not need my Materia Medica. Although I have laid it out so that it's very simple. My Materia Medica is laid out in such a way that it's really a quick reference rather than a deep study. But there are other great Materia Medicas that are much deeper study, and this is one of my favorites here, and this is Boricke, William Boricke. If you can see it up close, William Boricke, you can see up at the top. And it's a pocket manual. I have many Materia Medicas, different authors. I think I've said before, I own well over 30 of them. 34, I think it was at last. Maybe this makes it 35 because I just got another copy, an updated copy, more replete, I should say, or complete, replete with plenty of other information, because this is also repertory. But at any rate, these are books that you need to own if you're going to take this seriously. And if you're not, no problem, don't worry. You can do as much homeopathy as you like. You can you can dive into this and never come up again. Like many of us. Thank you, Susan. I'm glad you like the Materia Medica. But like many of us, once you get bitten by this, it's very hard to come back to anything else. Everything else looks, it's not that it looks pale in comparison, although that could be one way of describing it. I think everything else looks, not everything. I mean, there's chiropractic, love chiropractic, love acupuncture. That's all good stuff. Love botanicals, love herbs. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. But if you compare to mainstream, of course, if you compare anything to anything mainstream, it all looks kind of superficial, doesn't it? Comparatively. So we are on to something, aren't we, my friends? We are on to something that the world is about to be. There's a tipping point going on right now. And I'm sure many of you are following the same kinds of independent journalists. We're probably all learning from similar sources that the industry, the big industry, has pushed it so far that it's being shown that the emperor has no clothes, and people are catching on. Even people who would never have paid attention to this in the past. For those of you who've been with me and on your own journey for many years, decades even, we've known for a long time. All of this that's happening now looks really familiar, doesn't it? Only this is just bigger. This is just gigantica. um, and so, um, what we're observing right now is many more coming on board. And how do we know that many more are coming on board? I know because I have many more followers. Yes, thank goodness for the independent journalists. Isn't it so, Sandy? Is it not so? Um, yes, I have a personal herbalist in my Gateway study group. And wow, what a wealth of information. Yeah, you know that materia medica, you have some experience, and really herbalism is really wonderful. And I studied herbalism, not formally, but I studied herbalism in great depth on my own. And sometimes that's the best way to do it for many years. And I lived in the country, and I used to find my herbs on the wayside, in the meadows, in the woods, and make my own tinctures, etc. And boy, was that fun. It was a great learning experience. It was great for my children to grow up with that. But I have to say, as much as I love herbs, and I do use many of them still in my practice and what I teach, I find that homeopathy still goes one step further. Generally, sometimes there's nothing quite like Crataegus. There's nothing quite like. I'm trying to think of something else that I use. Crataegus is one of the big ones. Equisetum, um, Calotropis, Gigantica. Sometimes there are remedies that are herbs that nothing else will do. But homeopathy on the other side can trump many other herbs. So let's get into the medicine tonight. This medicine tonight we're going to be talking about urinary tract infections, but this is a Polycrest, the one that we're going to be talking about tonight. What does Polycrest mean? Well, Polycrest means that there are many applications for this medicine, that it touches many systems, the respiratory system, the digestive system, the urinary tract system, etc. And so when we see a medicine that's able to touch many systems, we call it a Polycrest. And usually there's a lot more information about it because it's been so readily used. So let's talk about it. The remedy is causticum, Causticum. It is not my first choice for urinary tract infections, but it is definitely one of them. It is a good one. And the reason I bring it up as urinary tract is because I know what's going on right now. There are a lot of people with urinary tract conditions this winter, I've noticed. And so we usually start with cantharis, and I'm not going to go through all of the medicine, how to do it, cantharis, metarhinum, how to do it, etc. For those medicines, Thuya is another very important one. But because the reason I'm not going to is because it's all on my blog. So if you look up bladder infection, and remember, folks, you always look for synonyms. If your doctor says you've got a UTI, and you go Joette Calabrese-实UTI and you don't find anything, well, maybe you should be thinking about writing urinary tract infection or bladder infection or kidney infection, etc. So you need to come up with synonyms. It's very important that you know to do that in medicine in general. Okay, that is the way that you're going to really get to the answers that you're looking for. So causticum, spelled Causticum. I'm going to be reading from my Materia Medica here. It's a very short entry in my Materia Medica, but that's okay because I expect that if you're curious to find more out about what's going on, if you're suspicious that causticum is a good medicine for a specific condition, then you'd look at causticum, read it in my Materia Medica, and then I'd go online, get your Borky out, look up Dr. James Tyler Kent, his Materia Medica online, and start digging a little more deeply. Yes, interesting. OHM has causticum 10M in their cardiac kit. I didn't know that they did. It's a very good thing to do. You do want this. This is a very, as I said, sweeping medicine. So I always want to talk about, though, those conditions that people are suffering most from at the moment, and UTIs is something that's happening a lot right now. So I'm going to read this. It is often employed for urinary tract infections, coughs, okay, that are deep but difficult to release. And here's another aspect of this medicine that has been very useful for me in my practice, and that is warts, especially warts around the fingernails or the fingers themselves, but particularly if they're around the fingernails. Causticum, Causticum, is one of the best medicines that we can use. Now, there are many others that we can use for warts, but if they're plantar's wart, then it's not around the fingernails. It's around, it's at the bottom of the foot generally. Unless the wart happens to be right around the toenails. Now we're talking more about the possibility of causticum. It's pretty unusual to see warts around toenails. We see them on the bottom of feet, on the under the toe, on the on the ball of the foot, on the heel of the foot, and or on the hands, the knees, sometimes on the face. But when we see them around fingernails, then we know we should be thinking about causticum. But what I love about causticum is because it also is a great medicine for urinary tract issues, even if they're not related to infections. Okay? Doesn't have to be a urinary tract infection. It could be someone who has who leaks urine, who has difficulty holding urine. It is specifically for urine that is that occurs on laughter or coughing. Okay, so think about this medicine in that regard. Now, for a urinary tract infection, what potency do I use? I would use most often a 30th potency for an acute in this situation, or a 200. Could you use something else if you only had that? Certainly. You use what you've got until you can get what you need. But if I have given you an absolute, meaning a protocol, a specific protocol, then don't tinker with it unless you have no other choice. I started taking eupatorium today because a lot of folks have been sick around me. They're doing fine. They've been much better within 2 days by using eupatorium and a couple other medicines. Excuse me. And I thought, maybe I should start taking this because I don't want to, I really would like to head it off at the pass. And so eupatorium, I'm just diverting for a moment, but eupatorium, EUPATORIUM. And I know that a 1M, for some declare that eupatorium 1M is the medicine for now in this stage of the viruses that are going around. And so I didn't have 1M, or I thought I didn't have 1M. I actually did have it. So I took 200, even though I knew that 1M would probably be a better choice. And then I dug a little deeper and did find 1M. So I used what I've got, what I had, until I could get what I needed. And it just so happened that I just needed to dig a little deeper. So, and then I'm going to be, I know people are going to be asking me this. I'm taking eupatorium every few hours, taking a sip of it. I put it in water. All right. So someone asked, stiffness of neck and shoulder pain. Now, here's interesting. Causticum has a lot of muscle cramping. So Dupuytren's contracture, carpal tunnel. I'm trying to think of some others. Contractures, especially of the hands. It's particularly valuable for someone who uses their hands a lot. I once worked with he played, did he play? It was a reed instrument because I remember him talking about making his own reeds. I think it was oboe. I think it was an oboe. And it was very difficult for him because he had contractures of the hands, and it was hard for him to have flexibility. And so for contractures of the hands, the feet, the back, knees, but particularly of the hands and carpal tunnel. And let me see if I want to make sure that I've covered everything that I want to cover here. Think of this medicine on the whole this condition, the condition being urinary tract infections or frequent urination, too frequent. Now, oftentimes, frequent urination is associated for some, especially for some people, not everyone, with what would I call it? Intensity of emotions, deep sincerity. Someone who is, I'm going to go a little bit on the mental side here, but it does not have to be this. So I just want you to know about this, just in case. We often find it in very intensely sincere teenage girls or adolescent girls. Girls who are feel, excuse me, very strongly about the plight of animals. And they feel as though they want to protect, they become political about it. And if at that same moment in time, or around that time, not that same moment, but around that time, they start having urinary tract issues, either an infection or urination, frequent urination, or dribbling of urine, or anything to do with urine that seems off, this could be a very good medicine for that. Now, I don't often talk about the mental aspects of these homeopathic medicines unless they are specifically mentally based medicines. This one happens to have an aspect of it that is like that. So they're idealistic. That was the word I was looking for. These young girls can be idealistic. Now, does it have to be a young girl? It needn't be a young girl. It can be anyone, any age. But the reason I use a young girl as an example is because they are more likely. Girls get urinary tract infections. Females get urinary tract infections more readily than boys, than the male gender. And because there is an aspect that can be present in the need for this medicine of intensity and idealism, and extreme sincerity, then that fits. Doesn't that fit some adolescent girls? I would say it does. All right, let's see what else we've got here. I want to make sure that I've included everything. There can be paralysis. So that those contractures in the hands, etc., to get contracture and take it further, and that could be a paralysis. And there can be a slow progressive paralysis, such as MS, right? I mean, you want to think about those kinds of things, or a cerebral accident that could cause that. All right. I want to make sure I've got everything in here. Oh, that incontinence. I want to mention that incontinence. When there is dribbling of urine, especially if the person is or sneezing. Now, that is more likely to happen in an older woman, not in a young girl. Okay. And there can be paralysis of muscles, tendons, etc., but there can also be paralysis of the bladder. Okay. Retention of urine. And let's just see what else we've got here. Oh, how could I forget this? This is a great medicine for coughs. It's very good. Sore throat. It is especially useful for conditions of the throat where trouble swallowing is present, especially when accompanied by choking. There is a sore throat as well. It's most likely that causticum is called for. Chest pain, which is associated with asthma or other breathing conditions, is also a call for this medicine to be considered. How are we doing with our questions? Catheterization. I think around catheterization, this could be very useful, especially if there's paralysis. So, someone who's had an accident where they have lost the use of from the waist down of their legs, they have a paralysis that extends all the way to including the urinary sphincter and rectum, etc. All of that can be related to a severe accident and then and subsequent catheterization and then subsequent UTIs. Okay. Is there pain associated with incontinence? Or no pain associated with incontinence? Okay. Oh, potency for Dupuytren's contracture. I think I would use it in a 200. I'd use this medicine in a 200 maybe once a day for a long period of time, and then watch. I've started having my fingers get stuck in bed position. Sometimes I have to fix it with my other hand. Yeah, could certainly be. Yep. I heard Bryonia 200 daily for this virus prophylaxis. I'll tell you what I've also used is I've been using a lot of aconitum 200 with Bryonia 30. So yes, and I think Bryonia is a very good medicine for this virus. Absolutely. Stroke recovery, where there is apraxia. Absolutely so. So this is a great medicine for post-stroke conditions. Okay. Yeah, it's a very good one. Paralysis, a lot of paralysis, and that can be, of course, stroke related. So what can be used for older women? Yes, this is it. And I would use this cost to come in a 30th or a 200, probably 200. Bell's palsy. Yes, it could be for Bell's palsy. Yes, it could. But look, let me just tell you this. These are all very good questions. But I want to make sure that you understand that when I say yes, it could be, that you go to a materia medica and you do your work. Or you go to or at least go to materia medica and do that, or also go to a repertory and do your work. It's important that you do more than what I tell you to do, unless it is a very specific condition and I'm giving you the exact protocol. I'm not giving you protocols here. Well, these are not protocols. Okay, could help a woman who has a hard time holding urine. She can be sitting upon standing, has to find the nearest bathroom quickly. Only 57 years old. Yeah, yes, it could be considered for that. Let me also mention that a lot of times people don't realize how often what they're taking, what's extrinsic, is causing what they've got now. So when someone has urination like that at 57 years old, the first thing I look at is what are the drugs she's taking? Even what are what are the supplements she's taking? Supplements can cause trouble too. Synthetic vitamins and certain supplements. Now, if they're food supplements, that's different. If it's actually a food, but those are the first questions. In fact, before someone meets with me, I have all that information in front of me. Then the next thing I ask, especially when it's a woman around that age, I also ask about stimulating foods. How much chocolate do you eat in a day? How much coffee do you drink? How much tea do you drink? Thank you very much, Monica. We're on the same page. Caffeine is stimulating to the bladder. Absolutely. Too much coffee can cause that. Too much chocolate, too much tea can cause that. And what's too much? Don't think for a second that just because you were able to have 5 cups of coffee every day when you were 22 years old and you were studying to keep you up at night, that now that you're 57, you expect your body to do the same thing. I'm sorry. Oh, nay, nay. It doesn't work that way, my friends. What we always want to remember is the body's always changing, and we become more sensitive as we get older. So just because you had a chocolate bar every day as a child on the way home from school doesn't mean that you can have a chocolate bar every day now and not have trouble. So that's where I always start. In other words, I don't want homeopathy to be treating something that is a lifestyle issue that could be moderated, let's put it that way. But a great way to know if it's coffee, chocolate, tea, even kombucha, because kombucha's got tea. It's not quite the same, but it can, for some people, they can be that sensitive to it. Um, what I'm reading some of these comments. You guys are funny. Um, I don't want homeopathy to try to make those repairs, if we can just make some moderation. And so, what was my train of thought was, so what I suggest is if I ask someone without saying, "Are you drinking coffee?" No, I want to know. So tell me about when I'm suspicious of something like this. Instead of saying, "Are you drinking a lot of coffee?" Because then the person will not admit it. Instead, you say, "Okay, so tell me about what you're eating. Give me some information. Tell me, do you stay away from any foods?" No. And then they start telling you things. And then they're more comfortable being relaying it to you. And you never, ever say, "I told you so," as much as I would love to do that sometimes. I try very hard not to do that. Or do as I tell you. I tell them, this is the way I approach clients. I say, look, I'm only suspicious that it could be the coffee. I don't know that it is or it isn't. But if you want to know and you really want to give this a try, cut out coffee for taste. Find something else. No coffee, no tea, no stimulating drinks or foods. And drink bone stock for 10 days. This is the perfect time of year to be doing that. Um, yeah, it's really it's fascinating, because what conventional medicine has the doctors is, "Oh, you have leaky urine. Okay," and then they give a drug for it. Instead of saying, "How much coffee do you drink now? Let's go over this again." I had an aunt, and I've told this story many times. And she used to have a coffee maker, and it would make 20 cups of coffee in it. And she could not hold her urine. It was actually a lifelong condition that was started when she was washing dishes. This is actually more common than you might think. She'd be washing dishes, put her hand in the warm water, and it would cause her to urinate a small amount, and then she'd have to run. And so she already had a weakened bladder of some sort. Wasn't terribly weak, but it was enough to cause a little trouble in her family because she did the dishes or couldn't do the dishes every night. So as she aged, of course, she drank coffee. And so she had this big pot. She'd make 20 cups. And I'd go to her house to visit, and didn't realize that she was making 20 cups in one day. It was just, her and my uncle were living and drinking this coffee, but she mostly drank it. And I said, "So, Aunt Mary, how many cups do you drink?" And she said, "Oh, I don't know, about 19." So she's, yes, per day, black, no milk, no cream. She didn't even put sugar in it. And she was doing that every day. And so you can imagine what the weakest link is in a person's life is what's going to let go. Her weak link was the bladder. So of course she wasn't going to get toenail fungus from it because that was not her weak link. Her weakest link was the bladder since she was a child. So now she was leaking constantly. And she went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Well, here, take this drug." So she took the drug, and then it caused dry eyes and a dry throat, and she was always coughing because her throat was always dry. And so then they gave her a drug for the dry throat. You see where we're going here? I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but it is so preposterous that there's no critical thinking in the person that she went to who would ask some simple questions. Coffee's a diuretic, and it can definitely do this. And so I said, let's try to get off of this coffee. And so she did. She got off the coffee, got off the two drugs, got off of what she had terrible headaches from getting off the coffee. And the urination problem went away almost completely. I wouldn't say we never used a homeopathic. Oh no, homeopathic for the headaches, because she couldn't get past it. And so we used, guess what I used? You tell me, folks. We only have a minute. Tell me what you think I used homeopathically to help her with the problems with the coffee headaches. Okay. Let's see. Coffee, yeah. I used Coffea. I used both Nux Vomica and I used Coffea. So Tracy said, yeah, you're both right. You're all right. Coffea. And I also used Nux. Now, at that time, it was a long time ago, and I was fairly new to homeopathy, but I certainly knew Nux Vomica, and I used Nux Vomica. And then she, believe it or not, I know this is ridiculous, she went back to the coffee again. She kind of forgot. That's what we do. She kind of forgot that it was a problem and started to drink it again. I'll just have 1 cup. Oh, I'll just have 2 or 3 cups. No, I can do this. I can handle it. And then up came that coffee maker again and filled it up again. She started. And the second time around, as I recall, I think I used coffee. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Good job, everyone. Good job. Yeah. Good job. All righty. I think one other thing with this causticum, ataxia. So when a person can't walk properly, could be a very, very good medicine. We don't necessarily think of ataxia with contractions of muscles, but it is. It's a pathology of the tendons and muscles, and so I wanted to mention that as well. I think we've got it. Do we have it all? I want to make sure I've covered. There's a lot more because, as I said, it's a Polycrest. But if you want to know about this medicine, read Boricke, Dr. James Tyler Kent online. There's a lot to be learned about this, and it's a medicine of measure. And so, with that, my friends, I have to dash off. I'm about to teach a Gateway to Homeopathy group. If you've never joined one, it's a great way to meet other people who are on the same page. And alrighty. Eupatorium perfilatum. Eupatorium perfilatum is the eupatorium that I use. I think we've got it. There, my dear friends. It's wonderful to see you all. Thank you for inviting me into your home, and God bless you all. Mwah! Have a great night. Bye now.